Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk to you about the season finale of Doctor Who. The episode was called Empire of Death. And as it starts, it picks up right where it left off at the end of last week in the TV studio, which is beginning to evacuate, but not soon enough for some people who are overcome and killed by Sutek's dust of death as blown by Sue. Meanwhile, back at unit headquarters, Harbinger is doing likewise to everyone in the room, as all the agents and even the AI robot shoot at her as she stands in front of the TARDIS, but all of the bullets turn to dust, and everyone in the room, including Kate, is turned to dust as well, while the Doctor and Mel escape the dust, now being blown out into the streets on a moped, as Ruby in the time window still wonders why she can't see her mother's face. At the same time, Mrs. Flood says some crazy stuff, including an apology for what's happening, and that she had such plans, all to Ruby's grandmother as the dust of death overtakes them both, turning them to dust. The Doctor enters the duplicate TARDIS in the time window, and it seems different from when he left it. He then urges Ruby to remember the TARDIS from the time of the Goblin incident, harder as time is a memory. Soon enough, Sutek confronts the Doctor while hovering closely over the original TARDIS. The Doctor recounts to Sutek how he had cast him forward in time to his own death and thus defeated him before. But Sutek explains how he found a home by clinging to the TARDIS, hiding there, and over time, evolving into his true godhood. He says that he's also learned how to manipulate the TARDIS, and that it will serve as the temple of his empire of death. But the Doctor vows to defeat him, while wondering aloud why Sutek hasn't killed him, before running with Ruby and Mel into the weird TARDIS, which is apparently now real, if very small on the inside, and it even flies, though on the verge of flying apart at the same time. It seems that everywhere the TARDIS landed that they saw a version of Sue, it was because Sutek had put her there, by harnessing the TARDIS's perception filter. So the Doctor starts explaining this to Ruby and Mel, and in the process mentions that the perception filter has a range of 66.7 meters, or 73 yards, which the Doctor is surprised to learn that Ruby already knows, though she doesn't know how she knows it. The Doctor then opens the doors of the TARDIS from space and remarks that the dust of death has destroyed every world he's ever been to, including Earth, and the whole of time and space everywhere, including places that he hasn't been, because the pattern of his travel between all these worlds covered all of that area. And so he blames himself for what's happened. Back at unit headquarters, Sutek laments the fact that a secret that the child carries with her still lives. On some unknown world, the Doctor walks through a dusty landscape to a tent where he finds a woman whom he asks where they are, but she says she doesn't know. The woman offers him a beverage and seems to be taking care of a baby called Brindle D, though the woman isn't sure that's actually her name because her memory is dying, and all of memory is dying. She can't even remember the name of the planet she's on or what city she's in. She does recount some memories of her life, the way it was before the dust, but the details are sketchy. And then the Doctor asks her if she has anything metal, which it turns out she does in the form of a spoon that she gives to him, despite the fact that metal is now a precious thing. It turns out that the woman's baby died, and it wasn't actually in the baby carrier we've been shown. The woman talks of a man who said that the death wave is killing down family lines, backwards through time, and a moment later she fades away, turning to dust right before the Doctor's eyes. The Doctor then swears to save the universe with the spoon, which he breaks and jams into the monitor piece from the time window that he saved. It seems that the time window is still connected to Ruby's memories. The Doctor surmises that Sutek is keeping he and Mel and Ruby alive because he needs them to solve the mystery of who Ruby's mother is, because not even he can tell, and it's got him entirely vexed. But Ruby can't understand why, because she can't imagine that her mother is some big galactic being, because if she is, then what does that make Ruby? The Doctor reassures her that she's 100% human. And in the next moment, Sutek calls out to Mel, saying that he sees her through time, space, and family. The time window screen then starts to show Roger Ap Gwilliam to the Doctor and Ruby, whom the Doctor recognizes as the most dangerous prime minister ever, though from 2046. So the Doctor guesses that if they go to 2046, they might be able to figure out who Ruby's mother is, because Roger Ep Williams made the entire UK register their DNA in that year. Sutekh continues to communicate with Mel and demands that she bring the Doctor and Ruby to him and to find the mother's name. The Doctor, Ruby, and Mel land in 2046, where everyone is dead, and they go to the Department of Health to look at the DNA register. Using his sonic and the screen from the time window, the Doctor is able to access the registry, as Mel, who is now visibly upset, leaves the room while still being called to by Sutekh. The Doctor takes Ruby's DNA and puts it in the system to try to find a match. As snow begins to fall in the Department of Health and the building is rocked as if by an earthquake. The system finds a match, but we don't see who she is just before Mel, now transformed into one of Sutekh's harbingers or minions, comes in and somehow gets the Doctor in a kind of trance where he can't move, demanding the name of Ruby's mother before transporting Ruby and the Doctor and herself back to unit headquarters to stand before Sutekh, at which point he demands the name and starts hurting the Doctor. Ruby says she'll give him the name if he lets the Doctor go, though the Doctor urges her not to do so. It turns out, though, that he and Ruby were tricking Sutekh, and as Ruby got close enough to him with the monitor under the guise of preparing to show him the name, she throws a leash around his collar using an intelligent rope from the memory TARDIS, which the Doctor then grabs with his intelligent glove from the episode with the goblins, before using a whistle to remotely operate the original TARDIS, which blasts Harbinger, evaporating her, before he yanks it away from Sutekh and enters it, hooking the smart rope to the console before sending the TARDIS into the vortex where it drags Sutekh. In the vortex, the Doctor drags Sutekh to death, which apparently leads to life, because that's what happens when you bring death to death. And everybody starts to come back, including Mrs. Flood, who laughs and says, "Oh, that clever boy." The Doctor rejoices in the return of life everywhere, including the place where he met the woman who is now back to life as her baby. He then remarks how they fought a monster and that now he must become a monster, at which point he goes back to the doors of the TARDIS and speaks to Sutekh one last time, blaming him for making him a monster, before he closes the TARDIS doors on the intelligent rope, severing its connection to the TARDIS, leaving Sutekh in the vortex, which burns him up. Back at unit headquarters, the Doctor explains to Sue that she really is who she believes she is, because Sutekh, despite being the Lord of Death, created life. Ruby's mother is finally revealed to be someone called Louise Allison Miller, who gave birth to Ruby when she was 15. And her father is revealed to be someone named William Benjamin Garnett. It's also revealed that Ruby's mother became a nurse after giving Ruby up. Ruby wonders how her mother stayed invisible to Sutekh, and the Doctor says it's because they've placed a whole lot of importance upon her by wondering about her identity, which made her super important to time itself, where she otherwise wouldn't have been. And this made her significant to Sutekh, but also blinded him to who she was. It turns out that what her mother was pointing at on Ruby Road was a lamppost that had a street sign on it saying Ruby Road, which it would seem she did to name Ruby, even though Ruby always thought that her name had just been chosen for her by the paramedics and authorities that found her. The Doctor and Ruby go to observe Ruby's mother from a distance, and after the Doctor urges Ruby to leave her mother alone, saying that she made her choice and never came looking for Ruby, Ruby goes ahead into the coffee shop where her mother is and ends up telling her mother who she is, and the two women embrace and cry. Later, Louise joins Ruby's adopted mother and grandmother and finds herself welcomed. Ruby then approaches the Doctor in the TARDIS to say that she'll be along in a minute and then they can go off, before inviting him to come meet her real mother. But she gets a phone call saying that they found her dad, who apparently doesn't even know that she exists, and in that moment realizes that she has to stay behind. She asks the Doctor if she'll ever see him again, and he says, of course she will. Before she exits the TARDIS, she says that she loves him. And after she leaves, the Doctor breaks down and sobs. A closing narration by Mrs. Flood notes that the audience might be wondering what happens to the Doctor, at which point she says that his story ends in absolute terror, before wishing the audience good night. And that's where the episode and thus the season ended. So, as an episode of Doctor Who, I found this to be an okay episode, a decent episode, a good episode, because it was action packed and had weirdness and triumph over evil and all of that stuff. But I didn't find it to be spectacular as a season ender because defeating Sutek came way too easily. And that's because they had to spend a bunch of time wrapping up the Ruby storyline, which I would have been upset if they didn't do. But like, I don't know, maybe it needed another episode, 9 instead of 8, to sort of make the confrontation more significant. And the thing is that the wrapping up of the Ruby story was super anticlimactic. Like, it turns out her mother is nobody. And I find that lame, I have to say. Also, it doesn't answer why the ambulance in episode 3 thought that she was 3,000 years old. Now, I guessed at the time that maybe it was recognizing that she was born in 2004 and that they happened to be 3,000 years in the future while they were there. And so it was just noting how much time had passed between her birth and where the doctor and she and the TARDIS were at that moment. But why would it mention that? Like, I don't know. It just seemed odd at the time. And so I was expecting her birth mother to be some kind of cosmic being, right? But nope, just a regular person. And I think that was very lame, I have to say. Also, we still don't know what's going on with Mrs. Flood. Like, who is she and why does she break the fourth wall? I mean, it would seem we're going to find out more at some future date, right? Because obviously we're not done with her. At least it seems obvious to me that we're not done with her. I hope we're not done with her because we still don't know who the hell she is. There is one theory that she's an older version of Clara because of an outfit she wore in one episode, which is similar to an outfit that Clara wore during her seasons. But who knows? I was just hoping we'd find that out before the season ended, and we didn't, so I'm kind of annoyed. Of course, I'm devastated that Ruby's time in the TARDIS has pretty much come to an end. I've read that she is in a couple of episodes of the next season, but for all intents and purposes, her time with the Doctor is over. And I hate that because I love the character and I love the actress. She's really good, I think. She's also very pleasant to look at. And I just wish she were continuing, mostly because she's a great character. The pleasant to look at thing is a bonus, honestly. At the same time, I'm excited for the next companion, which of course is the soldier lady from the episode Boom, who I found interesting enough during that 1 hour that we had with her, or part of an hour. So we'll have to see where that goes and how they pass the torch from one companion to the next. So I'm curious about that and looking forward to that. New companions are always fun. So I guess I'm going to have to take comfort in that. And it's nowhere I haven't been before, right? I hated losing Rose. I hated losing Amy. I hated losing Clara. Oh, Clara, that one nearly took me out. So I'll live. I want to say again, as I've said before over the course of the season, that Ncuti Gatwa is an absolute delight, an absolute powerhouse, fantastic as the Doctor. And unless I'm forgetting how much I liked Matt Smith as a sort of second favorite Doctor at the time to David Tennant, Ncuti Gatwa is probably now my second favorite Doctor, if not tied with David Tennant for my favorite ever Doctor. And if I'm honest, he might even slightly be edging out David Tennant as my favorite Doctor, but I feel guilty saying that, so I'm going to pretend I didn't say it. Anyway, amazing actor, fantastic Doctor, and I hope he stays in the part for a long time. And he is now at the top of the list of celebrities that I want to meet at a convention. So I hope he starts doing them. I hope he does one close to where I can go so that I can meet him, because he's just fantastic. This has been the best season of Doctor Who in a long time. And I'm just so excited for the future of this series. And with that said, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.